Last week on Gleeboot, we talked about the Glee project, which is Ryan Murphy's version of the Hunger Games that resulted in 4 winners, and that's what you missed on Gleeboot.
That is great.
Can you imagine how much less dramatic the Hunger Games would be if there were 4 winners?
I'm not gonna lie. I thought the fact that Peeta and Katniss want spoiler alert at the end of the first games was a bit anticlimactic. Not gonna lie.
Just a little, yeah.
I rewatched that movie and I was like, yeah, no, this doesn't live up to what I thought it was before.
I remember the books fondly. No, I don't.
Yes.
I remember I liked the books better than the movie, but they still kind of annoyed me.
Yeah. The things you liked when you were young, like Glee.
Like Glee.
And Twilight.
Oh boy.
I would love to have a Twilight podcast so much.
Gleeboot.
Yeah, so welcome to Gleeboot, the show where we get drunk and talk about rebooting Glee. I'm Cullen.
Alyssa?
I'm Hannah.
And we have my Victoria, one of my best friends from high school, is here.
Hi. I was being a strong, independent woman and introducing myself.
We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Victoria was my date to homeschool prom, so she understands the homeschool bubble just as well as about anyone. And
Is that a thing we get to talk about?
can you try and explain the tree dance? Because I tried to explain that in the prom episode.
What?
The tree dance. So obviously nature and trees are about sprouting and growth. And when the beat starts to drop, that's when trees start to grow. So you raise up, your arms extend, and then you sway back and forth like a tree in the wind. And it was not a sight to behold. It was perfectly normal. There were people in long denim skirts and giant white athletic shoes, like the ones that girls on TikTok wear nowadays. So yeah, we didn't even really stand out, but it's our own special dance. We used to serenade each other in parking lots. Swing dance. Just fun fact in case you needed. I did in fact I was not homeschooled, but I did in fact have an earlier curfew than the homeschoolers. So
What?
yes. We would be out swing dancing on a Thursday night and I would have to come home earlier than the homeschoolers, even though I caused literally zero trouble at all.
Wow.
So I fit right in.
Yes, she's an honorary homeschooler.
I know too much. A homeschooler did come to my parents' house and tell us we had homeschool placemats because we grew up with like educational placemats that taught us about like rocks and multiplication. Apparently that is not a thing. So
I think it's funny you had a curfew. I didn't go anywhere.
Me either, yeah.
So I didn't have a curfew because
it was like
I was already in my room.
Exactly.
like the craziest place I went during high school was like a homeschool square dance. I was not allowed to go to like homecoming after parties because there could be alcohol there.
Yes.
And then kids,
Which, as we learned from Glee, drinking is bad.
Yeah.
it is for sinners.
Cheers to that. So,
Speaking of cheers,
what are we drinking today?
White Claw.
White Claw. There are some laws if they're enforced when you're drinking White Claws.
I am drinking a concoction of lemon juice, corn syrup, black iced tea, and gin.
How is it?
It's kind of gross, but it's growing on me. Like the more I drink it. What?
Did you make it? I'm like, that sounds like something you...
Yeah.
And you put corn syrup in there yourself.
Yes, I did.
Like in your own right mind.
I didn't have any simple syrup, and corn syrup is just simple syrup. It's thicker.
That doesn't
I didn't know that people, so I'm not judging. I just didn't know people. First, maybe I'm not adult enough to have that in my household. And second off, it sounded like you were reading the ingredients from the back of like a processed bottle of something.
Yeah. She put xanthan gum in it.
It's for baking.
Some blue sticks, red 4, yellow 12.
I only use it for baking, and I probably won't put it in a drink again. Because this was supposed to be stirred, but then when I put the corn syrup in, it was like not mixing in, so I had to take it out of my glass and shake it in the shaker so that it would actually mix into the drink. So I probably won't be using it in a drink again.
So for all you aspiring drink makers out there, do not put corn syrup in your drinks.
Hey, I'm just trying stuff,
If you don't have simple syrup, just give up.
There's probably like a bartender somewhere who's like, what did you do?
Yeah, there are bartenders around the world just like freaking out.
Probably should have used syrup.
Yeah.
More maple syrup.
Yeah, well, maple syrup is the freaking best. So.
Are you Buddy the Elf?
She might be.
She loves syrup that much.
So, like, I'm sure Cullen has watched me on some mornings when I make waffles. I like lick it off my plate because it cannot go to waste.
It's liquid gold.
Yes, it is.
So next episode, even though I will likely not be here, I would like to see what would happen if you did like a shot, like half gin, half syrup.
Oh, now you have to do it.
That'd be better than corn syrup.
It's first of all, it's gonna be like half and half.
Yeah,
Or
hard
you
to
can
mix
put
them.
less.
What?
You can put less syrup, more gin. I don't know. I've never taken a shot of gin. I don't know if people even do that. Do people do that?
People take shots of literally anything.
They do shots of everything.
Yeah. I mean, I bet you could do like maybe like a quarter of maple syrup and 3/4 gin. Give it a little stir.
I'm just trying to think like what it's gonna taste like, because gin tastes like pine
drink
trees, and syrup tastes like sweetness. So
And it goes together. It's
pine
like-
tree.
Buddy
Yeah.
the Elf shot. Like
There
you
you
said
go.
pine trees.
We could be
We
on
got
something here.
2 different trees in the same shot glass. Pine
There you go.
and maple.
There you go.
I'm drinking an Angry Orchard's Unfiltered, or as I like to call it, a Finn Hudson, because it's sweet but unfiltered.
Yes.
And Victoria, I know you were a Glee fan back in the day. What is your journey with the show Glee?
I watched many seasons, sometime between 2010 and 2013. I stopped, but watched some. I was in college at that point, and so it was hard for me to access television regularly. But I watched it like religiously. I watched a ton of it, and I had an out-of-body experience the first time Darren Criss appeared on my screen.
Right.
As a Warbler, and I was hooked. I watched it before then, but then I became like extra invested. So I did watch the entire episode in preparation for this to bring back the memories, but also now I am tempted to binge watch the entire series because I'm running out of other shows to watch, and I'm gonna be in my house for some more time. So I'm tempted to like watch it all through again.
You can watch along and listen to the podcast. Listen to
Yeah,
our
there you go.
commentary as we watch along.
Yes.
Yes. Now in my mind, I'm like, I wish, although this would make it more difficult for filming, like if the episode was playing and y'all were talking about it as it was playing, then it's literally like a live
We've
action.
thought about doing an episode like that. We haven't really talked about it since, but maybe in the future. It would be kind of fun.
They do something similar. Spoiler, I'll probably say this at some point. I live in Texas. So in Austin, there's an improv group that does it, but it's called the Master Pancake. And they take movies and then have like a comedy. It's not even a comedy track. It's usually live people in the theater doing commentary. So obviously like the movie's edited to be shorter than the actual version. but it is quite entertaining. And now they stream it. They stream it on Twitch during quarantine.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, cool.
Check that out.
Yeah. Yeah, I've thought about doing like a Twitch stream maybe for the Damien McGinty Christmas movie or something.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I would
Yeah.
watch it. Hit me up. Let me know. I'll stream it.
All right. We'll hit you up. So, Victoria, did you take the BuzzFeed quizzes?
Yes, I did. And the person I would be on the show, I was trying to figure out, I'm like, I can't remember if this would be a good thing or a bad thing, but I only took it once. Is Quinn.
We love Quinn
Okay.
here.
Yeah, I say that's a good thing.
And my boyfriend, I only took it once. Blaine.
Wow.
Ooh.
We have the same Glee boyfriend.
And I told Cullen that I would tell him the answer, even if it's not what I got. But I took a screenshot.
And proved it.
Yeah, I answered the questions because I don't remember enough about the seasons to have like tricked it into my answers.
Hannah, is there a dog in your closet?
Yes, I was trying to tell you guys that earlier. Yeah, we're dog sitting. His name is Pippin, and he likes to bark at noises. So you probably hear a little like grrr in the microphone after his little barks.
All right.
Hey,
So
hi,
now
Pippin.
it's time to get into season 3. Oh my gosh, Pippin!
A pod dog.
A pod
Yeah,
dog.
I
We
was
had-
trying to figure out like a good pun name for that. All I could come up with is a dog cast, but then that just makes me think of like an injured dog. So
And paw, like a paw, like a dog paw.
oh, I get it. Yeah,
a podcast.
a podcast.
Yeah, I get
The
in trouble.
podcast.
I get in trouble for this at work because I think of a joke and then I think of jokes like 2 jokes past that joke. And then when I have to explain, like, that is too complicated to send an email. Like, people are not going to get there. I was just, I'm like, I just
Well,
get
the best
all-
jokes are the ones you have to explain.
Okay. So then I have the best jokes ever.
Now you're getting it.
Yeah. So, welcome to the season premiere of season 3 of Gleeboot, guys.
Woo!
We have
made
made
it.
it,
We made it. We made it through 2 seasons.
which feels like an eternity.
2
feels
seasons
like
and
an-
how many months of quarantine?
7, 6. What month is it? It's October.
It's
10,
October.
So yeah, about 7 months.
yeah.
We did it also.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're doing season 3, episode 1, the Purple Piano Project, the PPP.
Not like small business loans.
Yeah, right.
And we have a few storylines to go through today, but we're going to start with the introductions. As they did with season 2, they start with Jacob Ben Israel, our least favorite character. Yeah, so Jacob Ben Israel starts the season by interviewing everyone about like what their plans are for their senior year. Finn has no idea. He's just like, I'm really excited about this year. And he walks away, and it's like spread out over several minutes. Mercedes is no longer dating Sam. No longer
Did not
dating-
appear in this episode.
I was so sad.
Did they say in like that intro where he was? Like what was
He
going
said his
on?
dad got a job out of state.
Yeah. Are we never gonna see
Oh.
Sam again? Is he
I
like
don't
gone?
know.
Did they write him off?
I don't know. Or maybe he just like wasn't available to shoot season 3, episode 1. Maybe he'll be back. I don't know.
So next episode they're gonna be like, he'll be back, and he's gonna be like, oh yeah, my
Listen,
dad got
Blaine
fired again.
transferred at the drop of a hat.
Right?
Very
That's
true.
not, I have so much to say about this, but if that can happen, Sam can come back from out of state just like that.
Yeah. Mercedes has a new boyfriend now.
He said something about Cocoa Babies, and I was like, who writes this show?
White men.
White men.
Wait, am I allowed to make these kind of jokes?
Yeah.
This is one of the main places to make those jokes.
And then Mike and Tina. Mike is like, I haven't decided where my mom's going, or my mom hasn't decided where I'm going to school yet.
I haven't decided where my mom's going to school yet.
Yeah.
Your mom goes to college.
Stanford or wherever, do some other school. And then Tina's
Harvard
a junior.
Or Stanford?
Harvard or Stanford.
Oh.
And Tina's a junior and Artie's a junior, which they're telling us now because we had no idea.
Yeah.
And then he said, and the wheelchair adds a year.
Yeah. He's like, oh, you're a junior? He's like, yeah. He's like, well, you look like a senior. And I'm like, is that supposed to be that, like, old people are in wheelchairs and also, like, a junior, senior in high school joke? Like, that's not even good.
That's the way that I took it. Yeah.
I mean, that is absolutely the way it was intended.
That's not good.
No.
Oh,
Thumbs down.
Just wait. I was texting Cullen during the next couple of characters introductions. Not to spoil the next few minutes.
We meet the cheerleaders. Santana is talking about she's going to be the next head cheerleader, and formatting her life after her top Latino role model, Paula Abdul, who is not Latina, as far as I'm aware of.
I should know.
Well, Jacob Ben Israel says she's an Arab, but it's Jacob Ben Israel.
True. Let's Google it. Keep going.
I have no idea.
Yeah. And then he asked Brittany what her future plans are, and she's like, are you working on a time machine too?
I love her. I forgot how much I loved her.
Fun fact, Paula Abdul's father is Syrian Jewish, and he was raised in Brazil. And yeah, she was raised Ashkenazi Jewish. I don't know what the joke was supposed to be there. Okay. Glee.
And then Rachel and Kurt. Rachel's like, I'm gonna originate the role in a Sondheim musical. We're gonna go to New York and be in an acting school. And Kurt's like, Juilliard. And Kurt's like, I'll be married by 30 legally.
Yeah, which
So
he would have been. I kind of like barely did the math in my head, but I was like, if you're saying like 20, I think he said 25. I think that's what I wrote down. So I was like, yeah, he might have been able to by 25.
I don't think gay marriage was legalized by that point.
No. It happened on my birthday in 2014. I think it was 2014.
Hey guys, it's Hannah here with an actual fact check for you, especially because this one is so important. On June 26, 2015, the Supreme Court struck down all state-specific bans on gay marriage, thus legalizing it. So it was actually 2015, not 2014. Sorry for that mistake. And now back to the show.
So he wasn't saying my goal is to get married. That was a joke.
No.
They wrote that as a joke.
Well, as a joke because gay marriage wasn't legalized.
That's what I'm saying.
No, but it was
He was
his
saying
goal
it like
was
hopefully.
that hopefully it'll be legal.
But
Okay, I don't remember the context of this scene.
So
it was still in the intro. They were talking about their goals, and he was like, she's like, I'm gonna win a Tony by 20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
think
20
she
by
said.
20, and he's like married
he's
by
like,
30.
Legally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but okay, even though he's saying it seriously, was it written as a joke?
I don't think so.
No, I think they were meaning it to be hopeful.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's giving the Glee writers too much credit.
All right, and then he's asking if anyone has seen Quinn Fabray, and then we do get introduced to Quinn Fabray. She has pink hair,
A nose ring.
a nose ring, an ironic Ryan Seacrest tattoo.
That was the worst part. I actually really liked her
look.
Yes, her look.
I did
she
too.
got an overhaul on the what is it called when you get a makeover? She got a makeover.
Yeah.
An
Yes.
overhaul. An overhaul on the face.
An overhaul. Oh, that's great. Yeah, no, it's edgy. She's edgy now. She smokes because she's cool, except smoking is not cool.
Yeah, that I didn't like that.
Vaping is also not cool.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad for your lungs.
Mm-hmm.
You get popcorn lung
But
and cancer.
I appreciated it when she came on screen because during quarantine, my hair was growing too long, so I learned how to cut my own hair. And this time, when I cut my own hair, I was still bored, and I decided to dye the ends pink.
Nice.
They aren't showing up
So
as
you being Quinn really worked out. It makes
Yeah.
sense.
at least for
BuzzFeed
this.
knew it.
Oh, yeah.
BuzzFeed knows everything.
Conveniently, I was not on the season 1 podcast because then we would have not had as much in common.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm currently
Interesting.
not pregnant from a hot tub, so but I have pink hair, so
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought she was rocking it. I don't remember what happens in subsequent episodes, but I do like it, and I do like her more chill attitude. But I do hope they all become friends again.
Honestly, like, I feel like what's going to happen is in order for her to be friends with them again, she has to undergo another makeover, either back the way to the way she was or a different sort of makeover in a different direction. And I'm not cool with that. Yes, another overhaul. I don't want that to happen. I like her whole thing right now.
I guess we'll have to see.
Yes, I'm curious. Well, because they wouldn't want another Tina. They already have like an edgy girl in Glee.
But
Tina
Tina's gotten
is
way
very
less edgy.
soft.
That is true.
Her edginess is like gone. She looked very preppy this episode, which was she has highlights.
The
Yeah.
way she had actual real highlights instead of like blue highlights.
Yeah, she had
Yeah.
blonde highlights, caramel
I
highlights.
did not notice.
I mean, it looks really
Tina
good.
and Quinn are switching places.
It's kind of strange.
Freaky Friday.
Freaky Friday.
Spoilers.
Glee was playing 5D chess, and we didn't even know it.
So the plot lines that we're going to go through after this introductions, we have the Will versus Sue plot line, we have Kurt and Blaine, we have Quinn, and we have Rachel and Kurt. So I'm going to do the Will and Sue plot line because that's like the largest one, and then we'll go through the others.
Real quick. So at the end of that intro sequence, Finn gets hit with a bunch of slushies by the hockey players, right?
Yeah.
And the one guy goes like something
the rainbow.
Gleeotch.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, was that Emily from the Glee Project in a mullet? Because she was the one who said Gleeotch last time. So yeah, that's I was excited about that.
I thought of Emily too.
I wonder if they stole that from her. The writer's like,
Probably.
ooh, that's good.
They
And then
probably
Emily's
did.
like, wow, I fucking said that. Okay.
They seem to be scraping from the bottom of the barrel with creativity, so
Yeah, they're stealing from other people now.
I wonder if they had them all like sign a contract saying as long as you're on this reality TV show, we can use anything that you say in the show.
Probably.
Probably.
We're like, yeah.
We can use it in the Glee Project, and we can use it in Glee. That's probably what was in their contract.
This is one of the reasons I don't want to work at Disney, because I want to keep my intellectual property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have signed over my intellectual property to my current employer, but I had none going into it.
That's the key.
There
You
you
just
go.
don't do it.
So
There you
I'm
go.
like, you can have it. I don't have patents. I'm probably not going to create any while I work here.
Yeah, I've always said that if I ever got hired at Disney, which like I've never even applied for a role there, but if I ever did, I would write a porno, so then it would be a Disney porno because they would own it.
That's the thing. Did you know that? There's like there's a whole section in like because they have to keep everything the artists create. There's this whole section of Disney
Disney
character
Plus.
porn that's like
Well,
in
I
their
want
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus in like
Disney X,
Disney.
your new
streaming service.
Plus, turns a little bit.
It's like in the archives of like where they keep what their artists create. There's a bunch of Disney porn because artists get frustrated, and so they're like, well, if I can draw your characters, only draw your characters, I'm going to draw them pornographically.
You can't do anything like in your own
Spare
time.
Even if you write something that's not even Disney related, like I was literally saying, like I would literally just like write and produce a porn, just like not even Disney related, and technically Disney would own it.
But you're allowed to do that in your free time.
But they own it.
Anything you do in your free time, Disney owns.
Like like even if you're at your house,
I
if
do
you work for them.
If one of us worked for Disney, they would own this podcast.
Yeah, they would.
How much will they pay for it is my question.
They won't.
Absolutely
They
nothing.
own it.
Yeah. Support your indie streaming service Disney Plus and Disney X coming
Disney
soon.
X.
Oh my gosh.
Coming soon. Wink.
Could you imagine?
Wink.
Okay.
So the Will and Emma plot ensue. So Will and Emma wake up in their bedroom, and Will says to Emma, because apparently they're sleeping together and living together now.
Do we really have to talk about this part?
Oh, I'm going to talk about this part where he's like, he leans
I'm
over.
going to talk about it conservatively for 45 minutes.
And he's like, guess who woke up just before I did? And she's like,
He's talking about his fucking morning wood. Like, my face is melting.
I did not pick up on that.
Podcast.
What?
I didn't. It went right over my head.
oh, I picked that up
man,
and I was like, he is talking about his penis right now.
I picked it up and I immediately
wish
dropped it.
that so what happened was, this is not even 3 minutes into the episode. I had to pause it and scream because I was so uncomfortable because 1, he was shirtless, 2, they were in bed together, and like 3, he was talking about his morning wood, and I'm just like, no.
Do y'all want a homeschooler story about Morningwood?
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't even know that was a possibility.
I did not remember it until this very moment. And names will not be named. And I'm pretty sure said person does not listen to podcasts / her parents would not find it. And if they did, it was hilarious because they were grown adults who have procreated. Anyways, some friends, Cullen, as soon as I start talking about Cullen, will know who this is. But they go on this bike ride across Michigan every summer, and they're just riding bikes. It's a ton of homeschool families, but also whoever. It's just like a giant group. And apparently someone had a Ken doll, and he named him Ken Morningwood. And so my friend's mom, who is up in her years, not like just basically, I mean, she's had 3 kids, and she was going around being like, everyone, this is Ken Morningwood. Haha, what a funny name. In a way that she definitely did not know what that meant. She just thought it was a silly name. And so she went around this camp with all the bikers showing off this Ken doll and telling everyone how his name was Ken Morningwood.
Oh my
This
gosh, I
grown
did not
adult
know
woman.
this story. Oh.
And my friend came back and told me, and she was mortified. But like, obviously she didn't have the heart to tell her mom at that point.
Yeah, because also like at what point is it like, how can you as a child explain that to your parent?
I mean, as
So
a
they're like, where did you
16-year-old
learn that?
child, like,
Yeah.
oh, she said person learned it at public school because she left homeschooling and joined public school when I left
Tisk
public school.
tisk.
So anyways, that is my homeschool.
That's your morning homeschooler Morningwood story.
Like literally, there's never been a context to bring that up until now.
Glee gave that to
You're
you.
welcome. I'm glad we could help you get that off your chest.
I also wanted to help give you content. Cullen brought up homeschool bubble, so I said, okay, I shall provide.
Yes. So yeah, Will talked about his penis. I died. Hannah died.
Emma's not into having sex with him and walks away.
Yeah, so Emma walks away.
I thought she didn't want to kiss him because she had morning breath. Okay, sue me. Sorry.
And so then they're getting their lunches ready. They have a Superman and Wonder Woman lunchbox. And they like do a little kiss, and then they go off to school together. And then Will has this idea to inspire the Glee Club. Almada of Almada's Pianos donated 3 pianos that were from foreclosed homes, and Will painted them purple and is going to leave them around the school. And he's like, whenever you see it, I want you to play it and sing a song.
Question.
Why did he paint them purple?
Yeah, so the Purple Piano Project, that was like a thing, right? When this was happening.
What? Really?
It sounds familiar.
I think there was an actual like countrywide project. I think so, unless I'm making this up.
Well, is it something else like Pink Piano Project? Because I feel like they couldn't
thought there was, but maybe not. Because like literally when I Googled that, it's just the Glee episode.
I'm also Googling it. It's like Glee.
Yeah,
Glee.
I thought there was some sort of like project where like there would be pianos in public places, maybe not purple, but there would be pianos in public places, and people would be encouraged to like be musical or whatever.
That sounds familiar.
It sounds like that happened, and I'm pretty sure it did, unless it was just a hallucination, which is also possible. It's been a long year.
It's Hannah again. Another fact check that's not quite as vital, but still important. From what I can tell from a Google search, piano projects actually became a thing back in 2013, which was about 2 years after this episode aired. So maybe Glee inspired local communities to fix up and decorate old pianos and place them in public places to inspire a love of music. Piano projects are actually still a thing, with different iterations of the idea happening around the world, even in 2020. So we were kind of right, kind of wrong, but yeah. Anyway, back to the show. Again.
I think it just like purple is honestly just the signifier.
They wanted an alliteration.
That too, but it's also like the signifier, like as if a piano in a random spot in the school wasn't gonna be enough.
This one.
Like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. Got it. But he had to paint it purple. But it did actually make me think, and we can talk about it a little bit when we get to Sue when we first see her, but how Alyssa always says that the color purple, while it can represent other things, represents death. And I was like, something bad's gonna happen to these pianos. That's the first thing I thought. And I don't even remember this episode, so spoiler alert for the rest of the episode.
I was like, are you gonna play piano for people?
So funny, they all die.
The pianos all die.
They do.
So meanwhile, Sue is running for office, and she is behind in the polls. And she's behind the rapist running from prison, anyone white, and undecided, and please don't call me during dinner.
So you can't run from prison.
You can't even vote.
You can't vote.
Also, fun fact, you know what color Sue was wearing in those scenes?
Purple.
She was wearing purple.
Mm-hmm.
When she was like, oh yeah, we're gonna do these purple pianos, and like Tina says, oh yeah, it's because like even though they're old and kind of broken, they still can make beautiful music. And I was like, oh, Sue's wearing purple. Maybe she is broken but can still make beautiful music, or she's gonna die.
Or they're all
I channeled my inner Alyssa during this episode. It was very, very, very weird, actually. I did not ever expect that, but it happened.
Or maybe the pianos are actually Horcruxes of Mr. Shu. And
I believe that.
Horcrux.
Yeah.
I believe
Mind blown.
This was actually, fun fact, this was the first season written by a writer's room instead of just by Ryan Murphy, Ian Brennan, and Brad Falchuk.
Yeah, I saw a staff writer come up and I was like, a staff writer?
That sounds like white men.
Those were all white men that he listed.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
I want to know the diversity of the writer's room.
That's a really good question. We should start tracking that. Let me see who wrote this.
And so Sue overhears Mike and Tina playing on the purple piano. They're playing chopsticks.
It was written by Brad
I
Falchuk.
did not catch that.
Yeah.
What? They were?
Yeah.
I did not catch that either because she started destroying the piano before it registered.
Yeah.
I
they're-
also don't know what chopsticks sounds like because I can't play a piano. That literally sounds like nothing to me, Alyssa.
So Sue hears them playing chopsticks.
That is bananas. This, whatever. Let's move on. We already know that they are not kind to people of other races. They like to make these jokes.
And so that's why when Sue comes up, she's like, she just destroys the piano and she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that might have been the national anthem of whatever country you're from. Because they're Asian.
I definitely heard that part, but I did not. Wow, that's...
Yeah, and Mike is like, that's super racist. And I'm like, just because you pointed out, Glee.
Doesn't
I mean, you
necessarily
can
make
make
it
the joke.
Yeah. That's something that Glee really struggles with. And I think I don't want to give it the credit. It's definitely partly because it's also like we're however many years past this point and we've progressed kind of as society, but also like it's just not aging well in general because it wasn't even good then.
Yeah. And then, so she tears up the piano, and this teacher is like, who is the math teacher or the geometry teacher that Sue doesn't recognize? She's like, oh, awkward. She's like, I've been teaching here for 45 years. But she's like, these artsy kids think they can get away with anything. God bless you, Sue Sylvester. You have my vote.
Also, does a math teacher just teach geometry? Like, I don't think there's that many geometry classes in a single school, is there? Because geometry is just one year.
There was in my school. Yeah, but I don't know, maybe she taught more than geometry.
Yeah, like typically my geometry teacher was like, I'm a math teacher and I teach geometry and algebra too. Like,
Yeah, they usually that's
why I was very confused by that. I was like, that must be a giant school. And she's just teaching like 6 separate groups of sophomores and some juniors and seniors who haven't gotten past it yet.
But it can't be that big if they needed Finn originally to be on the football team and in the choir.
Well, I don't know because Beast later on says that she cut 60 people from football tryouts. And how many people get on the team? Like 20 something, 25. So you have leftover players and on both sides of the line. So like,
do they ever say how many kids are in the school? Like total? Like how big this school is?
No, but they have an outdoory campus. So clearly
maybe
it's big.
And
I don't know.
I think, okay, so now I'm going back to the theory that maybe the time machine did work. Because she's been there for 45 years and they're trying to send us a message. 2020. Watch out.
It's very subtly in there because she's talking about just geometry. Yeah, that's the signal. That's what woke us up. Mm-hmm.
It's like the snap. It's like time machine did work. They're throwing us for a loop. It worked.
So she yells at Mike and Tina, and then she comes out on her show, Sue's Corner, as being against the arts. And so if she gets elected to replace the senator who had a heart attack, or the local representative, not senator.
I don't know what she's running for.
Like what level?
Isn't she running for like a state senator or something like that?
Yeah, I have no idea actually now that I think about it.
U.S. Senate or like
I think it's local.
Yeah, so like the Senate within the specific state, so Ohio State Senate. So basically like there's the United States Senate and then there's state senates throughout each state.
Yeah, and so she's going to ban arts funding until every student at the school can read at or above grade level.
Whew. When she said that, I was like, you do not judge a fish by its ability to ride a bike. Have you ever heard that quote?
No.
Yes. Who said that?
Oh, it's an inspirational poster.
Yeah, I think it was, wasn't it,
Einstein?
yeah, it was Einstein. I'm pretty sure.
But I'm like, not all kids will get to that reading level, but that does not mean they don't have other skills. And taking away the art, that could be the one skill in which they are a genius.
Yeah. So then the next day, Will comes in and he's like, Sue, you got your facts wrong. The arts help kids. They help kids avoid substance abuse. And he like storms in. She can't do this, but I'm like, she can run on whatever platform she wants, and the principal has nothing to do with it. Like, why is he in the principal's office?
Yeah, she's talking to Figgins. He bursts in the principal's office. Figgins doesn't say a goddamn word. And then, so they're talking about this. He's like complaining, and then Sue mentions something about his sex life, and then all of a sudden he's talking about his sex life, and I'm like,
what is happening?
Stop talking about your penis.
I think Glee doesn't have an HR department. I think that's
yeah.
Wait, Principal Figgins was talking about his sex life?
No, Will was.
Okay, I was really confused. I was like, I don't remember that scene.
So, because Will is like, she can't do this. The arts help people. She's like, tell that to Janis Joplin, and then.
Yeah, because he's like, it helps reduce substance abuse, and then she's tell that to Janis Joplin. I'm like, okay, that's a point, but not a good point.
He's like, I'm trying to start a family. I'm trying to I need money. Like, you're going after my livelihood.
Emma has never brought up. They have never talked about that. So where is that coming from? Wanting to start a family.
Touch each other for that to happen.
Yeah, at the very least, you have to touch each other.
Touches Ken Morningwood.
I mean, you don't now. You could just, be artificially inseminated.
Right, and they could then.
Each other.
But I think in this context, obviously, we're saying that it's assumed that they've talked, but what we can tell, it seems like she's barely interested in him. She only likes the lunches he makes.
I don't understand why they're living together.
What happened last season?
It just happened. It just happened. There was no lead up.
Oh, they moved in during the off season. That would have made for such good content.
Would it? I don't want to see any shoe content.
Okay, so
the less the better. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we do. You can like him if you want.
No, I was very annoyed by him. I just have trouble expressing. If it was a super unpopular opinion, I don't have enough to defend it.
This is the most popular opinion on the show.
But I don't want to skip to other parts of the plot, but I was like, you are whiny and annoying.
I am surprised that they didn't capitalize on the whole moving in aspect of a relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
That is good story moment.
Also, the fact that they couldn't have been dating that long. So they literally just started dating and then moved in. Unless she's just staying over.
Maybe her house party.
I can't imagine Emma just having a drawer. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah.
Didn't she disinfect everything? She would disinfect.
Yeah.
She would have a.
So then, how did she? None of this makes any sense. And I honestly don't care enough to continue about it.
It's true.
I really don't care about them.
Yeah.
The whole reason they skipped over the moving in part is because
they're like, no one wants to see this.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't need to justify this, and we're not going to ever.
So he's like, you're going after my livelihood. I'm trying to start a family. And he's like, oh, so you moved in with the redhead. I bet things in the bedroom are perfectly normal. And he's like, no, they're not. And I'm like, what? Why would you pivot and tell that to your worst enemy?
Hey,
and your boss.
Okay, what if Sue and Emma had a fling beforehand and she had insider knowledge?
Now that's content that would be very interesting.
That's for the Gleeboot.
On the Gleeboot, you have all these relationships that were never shown on screen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like Sam and Mercedes. It happened for 4 seconds. Or his pivot,
was insane. It was literally insane.
Nonsensical at all.
No.
He's like, I get the green light and then I get the red light just as fast. And I'm just like, and that's how consent works, Will. So
I have a feeling this is going to be obviously revisited, her green light, red light kind of thing. And there's going to be some really problematic conversation about consent. I have a feeling.
consent can be taken away at any point without explanation.
Absolutely.
And I just won't be part of that for future conversations. I just need to make sure
Yeah. PSA.
Yes.
Yes, and I'm listening. No means no.
So then later on, after the Glee Club does the lunch demonstration, which we'll get to in a different plot, Sugar Mata comes in, and she's like, "Hi, you guys sucked, but I'm awesome. Sorry, I have self-diagnosed Asperger's, so I can basically say whatever I want. I'm like a diplomat's daughter."
Yeah, that happened. She's a character they created.
According to IMDb, that is one of the more controversial points of the show.
Yeah, I can imagine why. I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. Like, it kind
That
of
it's not
feels
funny.
Yeah, it kind of feels really like both like making fun of people who have actual Asperger's and other spectrum disorders, or I don't know what the proper term is. And also like exploiting that experience at the same time, like so that they can actually like possibly have that representation.
I don't think they were trying to represent anything.
I feel like they kind of were.
In Glee's twisted way.
But did
Yes.
they know? Did they know how awful they were being? Because she's like, it's undiagnosed, and therefore that means it might not be real. So it might
Self-diagnosed. That means
okay.
like she just says that she has it.
And they're
But, like,
examining like stereotypes. I
yeah,
think it's obviously like belittling mental illness, and
mhm.
from my experience, people who have mental illness typically don't choose to have it. It's not a fun, quirky personality trait. It's not just like a little fun thing you can just turn on and off. And also, even if you have asterisk star, I'm like, this does not go in all cases, but like, depending on your mental illness and like the severity, for people who have like more mild / high functioning, which she seems like, I'm like, does not give you an excuse to be an asshole.
Yeah. Well, and also it's like I don't really know how well they really handle Becky in some cases. Even sometimes I feel like they do stuff better by Becky, mostly because like she's been around longer. Except for that time in the prom episode where they just like gave her another person with Down syndrome to be her prom date.
Right.
But I feel like, okay, maybe this isn't the best treatment, but I do feel like they empowered her. Like, she was kind of a badass. Granted, she was like Sue's minion.
Yeah,
Like, she had power, like,
for sure.
in the situations. Obviously not that
And I think like I just think that like Sugar Mata is already a very like she's going to be a hard sell for people because have we even gotten to her? Right? Yeah, this is why
Yeah,
we're
we're
talking about
on
her.
it.
Okay, for a second I thought we had skipped ahead. I was like, oh God. But no, so basically like, she comes in and she's like, I'm gonna audition. And they're like, okay, cool. And she auditions and she's really horrible. We're not gonna root for her if she's not good. You know, we're also not going to root for her. She literally came in and was an asshole, regardless of whatever condition she says she may or may not have. So, like, that's going to be a really hard sell because she was mean and she's not good. And then, like, we only feel bad for Shu having to like let her down. Spoiler alert! But like, there was a lot more even from the beginning to like about Becky than this character.
Well, also,
So I
Becky,
just like,
yeah, Becky's actually representing a group of people.
yeah, and I don't know anything about this actress, whether or not she has
Right.
Asperger's or
I will
anything.
have to look it up.
So, something that comes up a lot, and like, I don't want to mislabel it, but like mental illness can be, like, you can get like disability like accommodations and things at work. But a lot of times, even just society is built for if you have more of like a physical disability or if it is physically shown on your body, people believe it and tend to like treat it with different care than a mental, like anything mental because they can't see it in front of them. And so that might also play into it since typically autism isn't something like it's not physically shown on the body. And because there are other people with like physical disabilities that they can see, just society treats them different also.
Yeah, I know
she's a tricky character.
Yeah, I know someone from college, from my undergrad, who has high functioning autism, and I don't follow him a lot, but I do know he is always advocating for films to be, people with autism in films to be represented by actors who have autism. So I get the feeling that this is not something that happens a lot of the time. Yeah. So
I mean, they had a guy who could walk play a person in a wheelchair.
Exactly. Yeah. It's hard for me to believe that the actress who played Sugar, what's her name?
Sugar Mata.
Sugar Mata.
Oh, what? Like, what? Where did that name come from?
I have no idea. No clue.
Yeah, so we met our new favorite character, Sugar Mata. She's bad at her audition, and Will is like, sugar, and he's like, and Rachel's like, takes it over and is like, we'll be in touch. And so she's like, okay, and she leaves, and she's like, you can't have her on the team. She'll drag us down, and we won't win nationals. You said this was our year to win. And so Will is then talking with Beast and Emma about what to do about it. And that's where Beast brings up that she cuts 60 guys every year from her football team.
I have a question. Was this not an audition? It was an audition, right? That implies that you could cut the person.
But the thing is that he's always said his motto, instead of motto, his motto for the Glee Club was literally anyone who auditions gets in. And because she auditioned, she gets in. But she's horrible.
Was that season 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A while ago.
But I mean, he reminded us of that in the episode because I wouldn't have remembered that. He literally was just like, he turned around to Rachel because Rachel was like freaking out. And honestly, I have to say, like, kind of for good reason. I mean, we can talk about it now or more when we get to her storyline, but she makes a point that, like, if we really want to win, we need to get our best people, even though she's kind of acts like a brat about it. But she makes a good point. But he does turn around and he's like, anyone who auditions gets in, and that's sort of where it becomes. But it's also like, that kind of feels like a no-brainer to me. But you know, she was just such a nice guy. You know, he doesn't want to hurt anyone.
It brings up what I consider like this dichotomy in the Glee Club that is never quite resolved. Is this like a fun club for people who might not always fit in, or is this about winning?
Right.
True.
And they want it to be both. And this is actually kind of clever of Glee to point out that, like, you can't always be both.
Yep.
And so Will has to make a choice. So I actually think I don't think it was executed well, but the concept, like the thinking behind the storyline, it's a good idea.
Yeah,
I would
for
keep
sure.
something like this in the Gleeboot. Maybe not with Sugar. Definitely not with Sugar.
And
but maybe with a character named Salt.
Or Paprika.
Pepper. Pepper.
Susie
Pepper Potts. Pepper Potts can come back.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
But yeah, no, I agree. And I think as I get more into competitions that, and maybe it will in the season, get more complex in that, like, you know, as they're continuing to compete with other groups that are just as good, you know, and seeing their dynamic. Yeah, I think that would definitely be interesting in the Gleeboot for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking as someone who got cut from the chorus of Fame her sophomore year of high school and never auditioned. I mean, I'm not good at singing and that you had to be good at dancing. But I understand it is traumatizing to like not be great at these things in high school, but also not be included. But the differentiator of competition versus just fun is important. Maybe they have like a varsity and a JV, or like a red and a blue, and everyone knows which one is the good group, but they don't
Right.
say it.
They don't talk about it.
Like
Honestly, yeah. I mean, that, like, you have second string in sports.
Mhm.
Why couldn't you do that in Glee
Exactly.
Club?
Yeah.
That actually would have been a really good point for Beast to make, because she's like, she's just like, yeah, I cut 60 kids, but she could have also made the point where like, well, maybe you have a second string. I think that's a really good point.
She said make like a mascot or a water boy.
A water boy, yeah, which like you
For
can't
some
really
reason.
do in.
Yeah.
I feel like saying like second string would have been.
It
Because also,
translates
how
better.
come we didn't have this point with Lauren Zeiss when she came in? Because she came in as just a body. Why can't Sugar Mata be just a body?
They
Yeah.
can just not mic her.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just like
Or don't tell her.
yeah, like it's I don't know. Like Lauren Zeiss's never had to go through this. Like
Well,
I feel
because they
like-
needed Lauren Zeiss. They don't need
But they-
Sugar
They
Mama.
do
They
need
do.
sugar
They're like
because
2 people
Sam's
down.
gone.
They
and
just
Quinn's gone.
They're 2 people down.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
so they need
they
a
don't
body.
have the number of people that they need?
So they need to hold auditions to, but Blaine comes back. So aren't they just one person down?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're one person down. They're just being picky, which again, to Rachel's point, like makes sense. Like if they really want to win, they do kind of have to have the best people. But
And
yeah,
they could
Sugar
make-
can be on the second string and just perform at, the weird assemblies they have once a year and
like
or twice a year.
the competitions that like
The competitions that matter, she's moral support.
I'm like I was about to make I like the competitions the Abbey Lee Dance Company would not go to. It's like these are the local like small ones that will not be like nationally televised. Like they can still have their own circuit, just a different, not worse, just a different circuit.
There you go.
Yeah. And so then Will has this idea because he's upset about Sue. He's like, I'm going to counterattack Sue. And Emma's like, that's what being turned on feels like.
No, that's not what he says. He says General Schuster is going to come with a counterattack. That's what he says. That's very important that we point that out. And then we
General
connect
Schuster.
it with what Emma says, that this is what being turned on feels like. Now, this brings an interesting point that I discussed with you guys previously. Someone on Tumblr had reached out to us and asked us what we thought about Emma possibly being asexual.
Yes,
And
I
immediately
remember
my
that.
mind went to like the various moments in previous seasons where she seemed to be pretty turned on. But this moment really actually reminded me of that. This whole episode where she really did not seem at all physically attracted or engaged with him. So yeah, I just thought that was an interesting tidbit in this episode.
Well, I was curious. I did not even realize the morning bedroom scene was what it was, but it implied that other things had been done
Prior, and I'm like, so you lied to him? Like, if that was the first time she knew what being turned on felt like,
Yeah, it's
I
they've
got
not
that
had-
feeling too.
a very enjoyable relationship up until this point for her.
Right, like the whole morning thing. Like I could tell that she didn't want to have sex in the morning,
mhm.
but it didn't occur to me. It was more like, so they've had sex at other times. She just doesn't want to have sex right now.
But do we know that they've had sex at other times?
No, but that's what it felt like. It was implying that to me, and maybe I was just
Okay,
reading
okay.
into it. But that's what I got from the
understand.
scene.
But then if she doesn't know what being turned on feels like, maybe either they had not or she just did
She
not.
was faking it.
They have not, because I know when they do.
Oh, they have not.
That's what
Yeah.
I thought. I thought there was going to be that moment because I mean they made it such a big deal in previous
Last
seasons.
season.
Right. It just
Um,
felt like very, I don't know.
I get what you mean. Like, it looks like it implies
Yes.
that they
Right.
had sex.
And I
Right.
think part of the problem here is that they skip over so many parts of their relationship that I have no idea where we're coming in at.
Yeah. I mean, they fucking moved in together and we're like, what?
They could have did
Yeah.
it. Well, come on.
Well, and also that doesn't quite line up for me because, again, I'll go back to the Rocky Horror episode, which a couple weeks ago everyone decided was the worst episode of season 2, and no one's going to dispute that. But like, she literally is like panting with him, and like there are other moments where she like looks at him longingly. Like, is that not sexual attraction? Like, or is it just like romantic infatuation? Like, that's what's kind of confusing
it could
me.
be like, you know how you have like a crush on someone and then you're romantically infatuated with them and you think you're being turned on, but then you're actually, and then like later you find out, oh no, this is what that feels like.
Right. So it's like a different level.
Right. So
That maybe
she thought that she was being turned on previously, and now it's like, oh no, I wasn't. That's what this feels like.
So if
General
that's what's going
Schuster
on,
is the next level of sexy.
that's what I was gonna say. Like, that's what makes that even worse.
Yeah,
is it with that.
exactly.
So maybe it's just like a military fetish, like a specifically like high-ranking military member fetish. That's
That's what turned it
Possibly.
from lust to love.
I can just picture her in like a Civil War era gown and him dressed up as like a Civil War general, and they're doing like role play and stuff.
Oh my god.
What's the name?
Yep.
Commander Schuster? What, like,
General.
how far can
Oh,
you...
the next step.
Major
What is
Schuster?
after
I don't
general?
know.
Is there anything after general? Does
I don't
anyone
know.
No.
Here, let's
General with 2
Commander
stars.
Schuster.
General with 3 stars. It's all about the uniform after general.
All right. Well, we looked that up. I'm gonna keep moving on because we're still on the first
Brigadier
storyline.
General, Major General. Yeah, I think that's it. You can become. That's it. Yeah, just general, right?
It's all downhill from here.
There's general, and then there's general of the army.
Ooh.
Okay, let's move on because I'm uncomfortable. But I made it very uncomfortable, so that's
That's on you. So Sue is doing Cheerios tryouts, but she's like, I don't intend having anyone new, but I just like to judge people and crush dreams, because she made Santana and Becky co-captains of the Cheerios. And Becky's like, I can't work with her. And Santana's like, I don't see anyone who's different or whatever. I just see someone who I need to destroy. They get in my way.
she literally mentioned, she's like, I don't see however many chromosomes someone does or does not have. And I was like, okay, that's kind of clever. Like, I get it.
It was problematic, but I think it sounded kind of inclusive as well.
Yes, it was problematically inclusive or inclusively problematic. I don't know which.
Which
but
is
yes.
kind of Glee's brand.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that's why I was like, okay, that's
Trying,
clever.
but not that hard. Well, it's good that you like don't want to work with her because of like personality versus things she can't control.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I loved when Becky was like, I can't work with her. I was like, girl.
You're right, Becky.
Becky had my favorite line this episode where Sue was like, I need to find something. I took my pro-deportation stance and I was like, ooh. And people didn't like that. They need like a candidate who's against something. And Becky's like, what about toast?
Oh,
Bread's
yes.
already been baked. Why does it need to be baked again? And I'm
And then
like,
she's like, you're diabolical genius. I was like, that she's right though. Becky's right.
yeah. So that was my favorite moment. But then, so they're doing tryouts and Will shows up and he just starts giving facts about how the arts help kids and throwing glitter at Sue. And then he just dumps glitter on her and is like, you've been glitter bombed. And Emma's filming the whole time. They run off together. And it is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
I could not have hated any Will moment more. Which is
Is it worse
saying
than
a
the
lot.
thong song?
It's up there.
The fact that I have to think about it is
Yeah, that's a problem.
questionable.
What about Touch Me?
Well, I mean,
Oh.
the Rocky Horror episode is in a section all
It's in a
itself. I'm
separate.
removing
Yeah.
it from the
Yeah,
rest of
that's
Glee.
valid.
So there was one part of the scene that I hope I'm not misremembering, that I did appreciate, but it was Sue insulting his ramen noodle hair, I believe is what?
Macaroni hair.
Macaroni hair.
Yes, I remember that.
In my mind, I was like, Justin Timberlake,
Yeah.
this is your moment. Nope. Okay, well, you passed your moment. And then I was like, flip camera. I bought one of those in college so I could be a vlogger. I never actually committed to filming anything and uploading it, but I bought one. Like, that technology was so cool at the time, but it just looks dumb that that's what she's filming him on.
Yeah. Oh my god, I didn't even like realize that, but now I'm seeing it. I'm like, yes, no, I remember those being all the rage.
Yeah, this happens. It's supremely stupid, and then
Not only is it stupid, but it's just like petty. It's like the stupid and petty that it somehow is
It's
reminiscent
childish.
it's like reminiscent of the guy who throws a temper tantrum in the store because you're
Right.
wearing a mask.
Yes.
This is what this reminds me of. Like that level.
Will Schuester is a Karen.
So Will has to let down Sugar Mata, and it cuts to when he says, like, you can't be on the team, and she's like, well, who cares what you think? You're a Broadway wannabe who's washed up and who like has never done anything, and you've led the Glee Club to how many national wins? 0, not Asperger's. And she storms off, and then Sue is like, oh, I'm so happy with you, Will. And he's like, that was not easy to do. And she's like, no, I'm talking about your pixie dust filled hate crime. You know what people love? A martyr. I went up 7 spots in the polls or whatever after your little incident. And I'm like, yeah, I would hate whatever that guy stood for too.
Yeah, I was kind of like, this is not surprising to anyone.
But I also, so Sugar Mama hated her, except she was so accurate. And I find that when being confronted, just in different situations in my life, that men do not like women with opinions, but especially if they're accurate. If you like hit them at the core, even if you don't mean to, if you like accurately understand them. So she got him though. Like, where's the lie?
One other thing that I wanted to mention, this was earlier on in his story, but one of the kids in Glee Club mentioned that the person who replaced him in the April Rhodes one-woman show won a Tony. And I was like, for what? It's a one-woman show. Who is this man? What is he doing? And also, why did he win a Tony? That was garbage.
Gleeboot, you actually see the production of the one-woman show.
One whole episode is just like the highlights of that.
Well, the highlights of Will's performances and then the highlights of the person who actually won the Tony.
Yeah, it's going to be like an episode of Smash.
Oh my goodness.
No.
Bringing our two
Origin
loves
story.
together. That was like a funny thing that carried through this. And then, of course, Sugar Mata being like, you can't even help your students win. And you can't, like, it sort of like highlights that missed Tony opportunity, which is also bullshit. But anyway.
So that's the end of Will's storyline. I'm going to do the final scene because it wraps up all the storylines. I'm going to do that at the end.
Okay.
So next we're going to talk about Quinn.
An edgy queen.
Edgy Queen Quinn.
She does not show up a ton in this episode.
Yeah, it's a pretty short storyline.
Mhm.
But the cheerleaders, like Santana and Brittany, are like, come back to cheerleading. And she's like, you're suckers for going back to Sue. And they're like, no, it's not about her. It's about doing this for us. Like, we all joined Cheerios together. We all slept with Puckerman the same year.
That should not be a celebration.
No.
Especially Quinn was raped by Puckerman the same year.
And got pregnant.
I mean, if you think about it though, like, celebrations aren't sometimes the things that make you friends. So maybe they're saying this was a bad thing that happened to us this year.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do have female friends who we bonded because we realized after the fact that we were all dating the same guy. and we have bonded over it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
None of us knew.
When bad things to happen. Wow.
When bad things to happen.
When bad things to happen.
When bad things happen to people, sometimes that can make you friends. Like,
I
I
mean,
was on a beach with people I was already friends with, but we were on a beach and there was a shooting there, and that was like a bonding moment, like fleeing from a shooting.
oh, what? When was this?
You never heard this story before?
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So it was Memorial Day. I want to say the year after I graduated from undergrad, and we all went to Silver Beach in Michigan, and there was a gang shooting, and all we heard was like the pop, 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 because guns don't actually sound like guns do on television.
Yeah.
So we thought it was fireworks until there was a giant wave of screaming people running towards us.
Oh my God.
Yes. And
So then did you join the wave?
we walked calmly, away from the scene down a side street that had a bunch of beach homes on it, and definitely saw the getaway car as it sped down the street, and like the person leaned out the window and looked at us. It was really an interesting experience. And then we like knocked on the door of one of these beach homes and like begged them to come inside so that we weren't on the road where people were screaming and running away. And there were, it was an
Holy
interesting
crap.
experience. We definitely bonded over it. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, a bad experience is always bad, but when you experience it with other people, it can help you bond and create a strong relationship.
Here I was just about to be like, yeah, the three of us bonded over complaining about our schoolwork, and here you're talking about how you were almost in a shooting. Oh my God.
But it's true. Even like bad levels of experience. Have you ever noticed, like, when you're talking about, if you don't know how to bond with someone, you always go for the thing that you both hate.
Hey, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, no, like that's usually the safer bet.
It's it's like a human thing.
I've made so many friends just because of complaining about situations I'm in, because I love to bitch. That's why I'm on a podcast about bitching about Glee. So that's how I made most of my friends.
The way we're bonding is we're all watching Glee together.
Yeah. I mean, we bonded with you, Victoria, when you came on. We bonded, and yeah.
I'm like, I do sometimes. I'm trying to think about, like, when was the last time I bonded with people? But like my coworker and I, we both have this crazy big project where we have not been like eating or sleeping or like working regular hours. And so we're both like in the trenches, and we're gonna get out. And I'm like, we've only been working together for 3 months, but we are like, we've been through it. We've been through it together. And like, although I don't know, I cannot speak from experience, that the bonding experience would be different if I had seen my life flash before my eyes, knowing it was a getaway car, and you tried to be like, I did not see anything. I do not know what happened. I'm just here. I am an innocent bystander.
It was one of the scariest moments of my life.
Understandably.
I would probably like not go to the beach, like any beach.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I still love the beach. But later, when we were driving away, like we went to the Jeep and we were in the Jeep, we were driving away, we legitimately stopped at the gas station and the same getaway car pulled in next to us. Like the same car. No, wait. But I think my memories are getting a little bit jumbled up.
That makes a good story.
Let's get back to Glee.
Sorry guys.
So that's why they all bonded over Puck, because it was probably not a good experience.
Yeah, it was not a good experience.
Yeah, no, that's valid. That's valid.
Yeah. But Quinn is like, I'm different now. You never understood the pressure I was under. I'm not about the makeup and polyester outfits. So she leaves, and then because she hangs out with a group called the Skanks.
The Skanks.
I was not a fan of that name.
Yeah, I think they're trying to use it both ironically and like
in a weirdly empowering way, but I'm also like, this show was written by men.
Yeah.
Nothing about it was
Yeah.
empowering. They're all like, I make out with truckers at a rest stop. I eat cat poop.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
they're so empowered they don't care. But like
Yes, it's like that weird empowerment, like opposite of girl power. It's like girls can be gross and edgy, but like to a bad extreme.
like if they I don't know, they could have said like we're all so bossy and the men would have been like, yeah, we're empowering them. But like
And then they go and tell people what to do and everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh, those bossy girls.
Well,
yeah,
here's
we're bossy.
something where, when you think about it, kind of makes you like gag a little bit. Like, girls are bossy when they display leadership qualities.
Isn't that
yes.
gross?
Yeah.
It's the grossest thing I've ever heard. Well, one
Yep.
of them.
I mean, not
Oh.
that I can do you one better, but I have been told in a workplace, and the comment has been made by a leader who was male that apparently women are hard to manage.
Oh.
I am
That's-
sorry you hired competent people with opinions, but you put Comic Sans on the landing page that I did not design, so therefore you do not get an opinion.
Oh,
Yeah, no, opinion immediately stripped.
Mm-mm.
You
Comic
also think
Sans.
apostrophes
Comic Sans
make plurals.
is a terrible font.
You lose your right to vote if you use Comic Sans.
Yes, women are hard to manage. We are difficult for no reason.
Well, you know what? Men are hard to keep alive. So
I say men are too emotional to manage.
we should stop. We're bonding over men.
We're
This is
bonding too
about-
much.
Cullen's just sitting over here with his quiet.
This happens a lot where we're like, oh, men. And Cullen's like, I'm a man.
So Rachel comes up to Quinn and is like, we miss you in Glee Club. I missed you around. And we were friends once. We weren't super close, but we were friends. And
Were they? I wouldn't call them friends.
Hey, I think they bonded over something
Acquaintances.
bad. What did they bond
Is
over?
that how we're defining friendship now?
Yes.
Did they
Well,
bond over something bad?
they had the songwriting scene.
What were they writing about? Was it something bad?
Was it Puck?
But I wouldn't consider that friendship because really the reason why Quinn was like, get out of this town was because she wanted
Finn.
to keep she wanted to keep her life the way it was, and
True.
Rachel was threatening that. So yeah, I wouldn't call them friends. I would call them teammates.
Yeah.
True. Like, yeah.
Former
like acquaintances.
teammates. Yeah.
Yeah.
Acquaintances who bonded over something bad, but not quite friends.
Mhm.
And once she started talking, I'm like, do you have her exact quotes written down of what she? Because she had like a savior complex, and she's like, I should have stepped in at this
Yes.
point. I should have stepped in at this point.
Yeah,
when
she's
I
like, you
saw
cut your
It's
hair, and I
like,
should have stepped in, but I didn't. And it's like, people can cut their hair.
She's like, when you started dating that 40-year-old skateboarder, and I'm like,
that yes,
what?
she should have reported that
To the
to the police.
Uh-huh.
Because she's what, 17? Maybe 17? So yeah, she's
Yeah.
17 because she's a senior. 17 or 18.
But I do appreciate Quinn coming out and like at least doing her best to try to like set boundaries, like cut out what she perceived as like toxic from
Yeah.
her life. I do appreciate her standing up and be like, no, I don't have to.
Was there an actual offense between them? There was, right?
There was between
No.
Santana and Quinn.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I know there's offense
Santana
somewhere.
maintained her boundary, but
Mm.
Rachel overstepped her boundary. That's the visual
go.
meaning there.
I mean,
That's very on brand for Rachel.
Oh, yes.
Santana's always behind another wall. She always has that protection. It's that Lima Heights adjacent mentality.
But Quinn rejects Rachel's offer to rejoin Glee Club, and she's like, we're doing a tribute to the Go-Go's. And we see Quinn
And
watching.
then, wait.
and
And then
what-
other skank goes, I prefer the Bengals. I laughed out loud. I was like, okay, that's kind of funny.
And so we'll get into the final scene with Quinn at the end of the episode. So let's talk about Rachel and Kurt. So they go into Emma's office because they have a big announcement to make. And Emma's like, I knew this day was coming. Quite frankly, this is the only dating option the Glee Club hasn't tried. And she puts down a pamphlet that's like me and my hag.
I bet you she only has one copy. It's for Rachel. It has Rachel's name on it.
And they're like, oh no, we're not dating. We're announcing that we want to go to Juilliard. We want to go to school in New York. And she's like, well, Juilliard actually doesn't have a musical theater program. It's like, way to do your research.
I have a lot of problems with this because, correct me if I'm wrong, but Google was very much a thing in whatever year this was, right?
Yeah.
And like one of the things you have to do is like research the schools you want to go to. They not only should have known that Juilliard didn't have the program they were interested in, and two, they should have known about this place that Emma introduces them to. But because Google exists, they should have literally been like musical theater program, college, New York, search. NYADA should have been the first thing on that list.
I think even if
it's
Google,
number one.
even if Google didn't exist, they would have known this because that's the type of people they are.
Well, and that's a
100%.
huge oversight for Rachel. She's literally had her life planned out since she was 5 years old.
Exactly.
She would know, be like, I need to go to NYADA, or she would have known that, like, I need to go to this specific school. Like, she knew Juilliard didn't have that program.
Rachel does not make decisions lightly.
Yeah, she would have checked that when she was in first grade.
Yeah, like second she learned how to type like on a computer, that would be the first thing she looked up. So yeah, it just like it made no sense.
But
like literally they didn't need this scene at all. Like they literally could have just had a scene of them like in the library being like, okay, well, I found these schools. And Rachel's like, but I found these schools. And then they come together like, oh my God, NYADA. They find it on their own. Like that would make more sense. It would be more character driven rather than Emma just like handing them the information.
So in the Gleeboot, they take the SATs and they have a college prep course.
Yes.
They do research on universities.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be all the boring stuff that they don't have in Glee. It's going to be in the Gleeboot.
Or maybe one of the writers made that pamphlet and they had to figure out a way to work it into the storyline.
Yep, they worked backwards. I think you're absolutely right. I always say this. They worked backwards from that pamphlet.
I wasn't going to ask about it, but I'm going to ask about it because it was brought up again. And here's just me displaying my ignorance yet again. What does the pamphlet say? It says
me and my
hag. Okay, is this a thing?
It's basically a woman who has lots of gay friends.
Well, in 2004, Urban Dictionary said it's an unattractive middle-aged or slightly older woman. So the writers might have meant that.
Yeah, so like it's used in. Oh, wait, so then I guess it would be for Kurt. The pamphlet is for Kurt. Because Rachel would be the hag. Yes, okay, sorry. So, yeah. It's referring to, like, this gay guy and his, like, best gal friend type situation. It's hard to explain, but there is a slur for women who like to hang out with gay men. And...
I found it. Yes.
Yeah.
The words rhyme. They rhyme.
Yes.
Okay.
They do.
I am understanding.
Basically, the writers definitely made it and worked backwards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Emma gives them the information for this school called NYADA, which it's a highly competitive performing arts school. It only takes about 20
Number one in the nation for musical theater.
Number one only takes about 20 kids a year. And so Kurt and Rachel are like, that's our school. No one ever made it a star by saying, bleh. No one ever became a star by playing it safe. You have to go to New York. We have to go to NYADA.
Wait, 20 kids a year for an undergrad program?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. Okay.
Very large school.
Good for me to know.
Very large school.
Yeah.
Compared to their high school. That apparently has 5,000 students.
Has 80,000 students.
80,000
Every student in Ohio goes to that school, according to Glee.
Because that's how you can cut 80 kids from your football program.
And
Beast is cutting kids from other schools.
You didn't even try out, but I don't want you anyways.
Yeah, she's just going around and be like, no, get out of my team. They're
Chess
like, I
club.
didn't.
No.
So they, she says there's a Niata mixer. So they go to this. Well, first at lunch, there's a purple piano, and Rachel is like, "How come none of you are following Mr. Schuster's assignment?" And they're like, "It's unfair that he put it in the lunchroom. Look, we have to do the Go-Go's number." And Finn's like, "Oh, fine, I agree with you, Rachel." Then he turns, and the band is already there and set up. And he's like, play.
I was so annoyed, but also I liked what I think it was Mercedes was like, how could we have ever seen this purple piano? Like, and then Finn was like, oh, I didn't know that was there. Like, he was genuinely serious. He didn't see it.
Yeah, and they sing "We Got the Beat," and they dance on the tables, and people don't like it. And then they throw food. Becky throws a slushie at Rachel, and then Jacob and Israel is like, food fight, and there's a giant food fight. We see Mike Chang doing more of his favorite thing, which is throwing stuff.
So this is a theme throughout the rest of a couple other spots where there's dancing and there's dancing cheerleaders, but there's like an up the skirt shot, and then there's also Jacob and Israel looking the camera up Brittany's skirt when she's doing her fancy table thrusts, and I'm like, excuse me?
Well, I was rewatching this, and obviously the first time I saw it, I was like, I did not notice this, but there is a lot of booty.
I was seeing so much booty. I was like,
yep.
Why
I
did
not
I not
ask for this?
But like specifically a close-up shot of the booty, not just the booty in the shot. The booty
I saw booty
was
cheeks
the shot.
in another scene.
Like
I saw cheeks in another scene.
Angle being under the instead of parallel with the skirt, under the
slightly under, and it's also just like, why do we need to see that?
Gross.
They're high schoolers.
Which makes it even worse. I'm just like, ew.
So they sing the Go-Go's, they get food and spaghetti thrown at them, and they're cleaning themselves off, and that's when Sugar Mata shows up. So now Rachel and Kurt go to the Niata mixer. It's right in a hotel next to a gun show. And we meet our first, there's a sign that says gun show, and we meet our first Glee Project alum.
Lindsay.
Was that the girl in the beret?
Yeah.
Who
I
is
was actually wondering if Alyssa was going to recognize her.
Oh yeah, I did. I definitely did.
She's playing someone named Harmony, who said she was the Gerber baby and that she, as a fetus, was in Murder, She Wrote.
Well, all of these, every single person in this room is like majorly obsessed with acting and singing, and
they're all dressed like Rachel and Kurt.
Yes.
Yeah.
What?
I skipped something. I forgot to talk about their Wizard of Oz number.
Oh.
Kurt and Rachel,
happened.
to practice, they do Ding Dong the Witch is Dead. And they have broom props and witch hats, and the band is
Very
there.
spoopy.
So spoopy.
There's also a purple piano there. I'm like, shoot, why would you put the purple piano in there when there's already a piano in there?
The purple one is different. The purple one
it's special.
Is for recruitment.
It's gonna die.
It's gonna die.
It's a Horcrux. He's gotta protect him.
So that happened.
Yeah, I was very confused during this number. Because they like put a whole bunch of new stuff in it. That's what I said. I said, what is this from? And Cullen's like, I'm going to give you a moment to think about it. And I was like, Cullen, I'm not an idiot. Like, obviously, it's from The Wizard of Oz, but it's not quite The Wizard of Oz. Like, this is weird. It's a weird version of this song. Like, I thought it was like a whole new musical or something.
Wait, it's what?
It's just like an updated
It's a jazz version of Ding Dong the Witch is Dead. So there's different lyrics and stuff. It's composed to be like a duet or a solo as opposed to a large group number.
Like when they take pop music and make it different tempos for Dancing with the Stars, and it just doesn't go well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That
I'll
is
second
a pop
that.
song,
it
but, like, that
didn't
is
go
not-
well.
Yeah, I was like, I have no idea what this is. I'm like, I kind of recognize it, but I'm like, I don't.
It was
Didn't like
very
it.
strange. It didn't really do anything for me except make me confused.
Yep, I didn't like it. I wasn't even enjoying it. I was just like, I don't like this.
Give me Teenage Dream or give me nothing.
So
We need to have an episode where every song is a different version of Teenage Dream.
Yes.
This episode is
Gleeboot.
called Teenage Dream.
Yes.
Adolescent Nightmare.
Adolescent Nightmare is the SATs and researching college programs.
Yes.
So then they go to the Niata mixer, and then all the people who are dressed like Rachel and Kurt, they're like, we have a number we've been working on. We've been meeting here every month since we were freshmen. And they sing a mashup of Anything Goes and Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better from Annie Got Your Gun.
Mm.
And it's a musical theater fun with jazz and tap dance and singing and high notes.
It was a lot, and I couldn't have expected less, or more. I wouldn't have expected any less.
There you go.
It's almost midnight, and I'm like losing it. Yeah, I wouldn't have expected anything less from this group of kids. It was a lot, but I have to say, I had a lot of fun watching it. And I was rooting for Lindsay. I was like, you know what? I'm happy for her.
Like all of these kids were like Rachel and Kurt on steroids.
The one kid, his
And
name was
crack.
Gavroche, and I literally wanted to scream. I was like, why would you do that to your child?
And he
Why?
said his future husband, Robert Pattinson, always says, I love new blood.
Yeah, and I'm like, did that happen in Twilight? Did I miss that? Now we need a Twilight podcast because now we have to talk about that.
Master,
Plans,
Cullen,
guys.
remind me to send you a video clip. Master Pancake did a version of Twilight, and there was a scene that had no business being as funny as it was, but they did like a voiceover, and someone I play Animal Crossing with took a video of it on her iPad and sent me the clip after, and I was like, it made my life. So I will send it to you and share it. Just don't let me forget, but it's Twilight related, but also
The one kid's name is Canada. I'm trying to remember any of their names, but
I just remember
Gavroche,
Harmony
Canada.
and Gavroche. I don't remember someone named Canada.
Yeah, one of the guys was named Canada.
does that
And then
make
there were
sense?
other people. But yeah, they were, which is funny, like they were all dressed like Rachel, but it made me wonder, were they actually just like Britney that one time when Britney was a fashion icon because of Rachel's style that was given to her? Something they
Deep
forgot that even
dive.
happened in the show. They were like, yeah, they all dress like Rachel because everyone who's a theater nerd like her dresses like this.
Every
No.
single person.
It's because
You-
Brittany set up the style.
Yeah, it was like you forgot that you did that thing with Britney that you have not continued.
Yeah, so then Kurt and Rachel are crying in the car about how they've never been in a production, they don't have any credits, they're going to be condemned to a life of community theater. What do you want to say, Hannah?
Why have they not done community theater? Why have they not done local theater?
Why
It
are they not
exists.
part of this group that comes and meets I don't even know,
They-
since freshman year,
They literally would have known about this.
Yes,
But in
exactly.
general, why are they not doing local theater? Like they know this is what they want to do. Literally, here's the other thing. Is that if you do not have credits from high school, you're not going to get into a program like that. Like it's just very unlikely. Like you have to have done something in high school before you get to college. So like what were they expecting? Like they are totally unprepared. Like these kids are smart, but they have done no research
Well, I
because the
feel
writers
like-
want to set them up as like so low bar right now. But I'm like, why would you do that?
well, Kurt
and
doesn't have.
Kurt's gonna go be class president. I'm like, no, honey, you need to do more theater.
Mhm.
Rachel Berry would have padded her resume.
Oh,
Yeah, I feel
100%.
Rachel has done a
She's
bunch
been
of
doing
stuff.
competitions since she was a kid. She said that in like season 1. Why
Yeah,
is she not
exactly.
doing theater?
I can see where maybe Kurt maybe like he didn't know he wanted to do this until, I don't know, a couple of years ago or something.
And maybe
Rachel
he's just been
knew.
kind of shy about it. Yeah, like I feel like
Rachel
at some
definitely would have
point,
known though.
yeah, she would have been doing it. And at some point she would have looped him into doing it because he sort of got on the same bandwagon and they would have done it together. It just makes no sense.
So then, like, the high school production of their senior year wouldn't be their only shot to, like, have a role.
Like, this will be their only shot. So hopefully it happens. Because last time they said Cabaret got canceled.
Cabaret got canceled, and then Mr. Shu tried to do Rocky Horror Picture Show to get in Emma's pants. So their opportunity for his students to have theatrical experience and build up their resume was lost because of his selfishness. So they're crying in the car, and then Kurt is like, no, you can do what do you see? I see Rachel Berry. You're a star. You can do this. And she's like, and you're going to do this too, Kurt. And there's so many opportunities. You can run for class president. And I actually thought this scene was really sweet between the two of them.
I agree.
I liked it.
Not logical, but sweet.
Yes. I feel like this could have worked if they had done all their homework and front loaded, but then their expectations were crushed.
Right.
I feel like that would have been a much better emotional arc, but I definitely think, but they were set up to fail from the beginning because of just how illogical it was set up. So it was a slighter fall when they got crushed. But I do think it's a really tender emotional moment that I think was really good.
The emotional roller coaster just did not get high enough.
It went
for
like
their low.
this. It was literally like a tiny little baby ride.
But they showed a tiny bit of self-awareness of, like, we think we're, like, big fish in a small pond at school.
Kurt literally is like, we were so arrogant. And I'm like, what? Wow. Yeah, like, oh, wow, okay, that's very nice.
Yeah, I think it would have been interesting if maybe they had done community theater, but because they're in like rural Ohio, the community theater like doesn't add up to someone who lived in California or New York who'd be competing to get into NIADA and who has like done Christmas pantomimes with Neil Patrick Harris and stuff.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been like really interesting if these kids just had a lot better credits than them, like, which they did, but they came in with absolutely nothing, and it's like, are you insane?
Yeah.
Like, you can do things. You have things you can do.
Yeah.
It's not like this is the first time you're ever trying to sing when you're trying to get into college.
And then, so that's really the last scene. I'm going to get to the end of their storyline in the final scene. So let's jump to Kurt and Blaine.
Klaine.
Why they didn't go for Blurt? I don't know.
I think I can guess why. Now we're changing it. They're Blurt from now on.
Yes.
So Blurt is having coffee, and Blaine is like,
he's in his Warbler uniform.
And he's like, are you giving me the silent treatment? And he's like, no, I'm being passive aggressive. And
yes.
Yeah.
Which is a passive aggressive thing to say by correcting him. You're like, no, I'm being passive aggressive.
And he's like, you told me that by the beginning of school, you would have decided whether or not you would have switched schools. And Blaine is like, I don't know, I can't leave the Warblers, they're my friends. And I'm like, also, wouldn't his parents have a say in this? Wouldn't they
his parents invest money in his education, and he's gonna be like, no, my boyfriend goes to public school an hour and a half away, I want to go there. And also, since we live who knows where, I'm gonna have to commute a long way to that school.
It makes no sense, and it's so weird of Kurt to ask him to do this
because it's high school. It like the couples will be like, okay, are we gonna go to college together? Are we gonna go to college nearby? Like that kind of stuff, you know. I knew someone who transferred colleges to go be with their partner. So like those are adult decisions.
these are children.
Yeah.
Also, it is a goddamn process to transfer schools in the state of Ohio. I know because I did it. And it is not easy. And but anyway, I digress. This is bananas. And I don't know why it's happening.
We're talking about how Blaine transferred.
Yeah, well, we're talking about how Kurt asked Blaine to transfer, and then Blaine does transfer. He shows up in his little red pants and bow tie and polo.
And then Kurt says, "Oh my gosh, I hope you didn't transfer for me."
You're like, you literally asked him to.
Yes, he does. He literally is like, "Oh my God, I did ask you, but, I don't want us to be, resenting or whatever." And then Blaine's like, no, I did this for me because I wanted to be with the person I love, which is sweet, but also like, you're a child. Because Blaine's younger than Kurt. Blaine is a junior, right? Or sophomore.
Oh.
So I'm like, so you went to this school for 1 year. Are you going to go back to your old school? Or are you going to stay here? Like, what? Also, Kurt's planning to go to New York. So you're going to go to this school for a year. Like, what? I'm so confused.
And
it seems like a very logical, well thought out decision to me.
It feels like a 16 and a 17-year-old made this plan. It does. So I guess it's kind of accurate. But parents, where are the parents?
Yeah, where are they? What happened here?
And then Blaine sings It's Not Unusual. He comes out, and it's honestly very swoon-worthy. I thought he looked very handsome.
In the outdoor courtyard of this Northwest Ohio school.
I have been waiting for this moment.
Because you know how many Midwestern schools have outdoor courtyards for their all-season weather,
Yeah, for this single week where it's not snowing.
Yep.
But also everything Blaine does is swoon-worthy. So, I mean, I loved it. Overall, I don't know. This episode's music didn't really do it for me. I was like, because you had the Ding Dong the Witches did weird, whatever it was. Then I was like, okay, Blaine saved the day.
Honestly,
we're gonna be fine.
I didn't like any of the songs. I didn't like any of them.
Slim Pickens.
I know I wrote down there was one song. I'm gonna have to look for it. But I wrote down there was one song.
One?
I think that might have. No, it wasn't that one.
It wasn't.
It was part of another song that I was like, okay, this is fun. But the other part of it was not fun. And we'll talk about it very soon.
So as he's singing It's Not Unusual, and Santana has been assigned by Sue to destroy the purple pianos. So Santana starts dancing with him, and as the cheerleaders dancing with him, there's more booty shots. And then the cheerleaders...
Cheeks. I saw cheeks. I was not happy because I'm like, I don't need to see these women's butts. It's just not necessary. It's egregious.
There were a lot. It didn't just happen, it kept happening.
Yes.
It was almost like a theme, and that is not a theme that I want in this.
What is the theme?
Stop with the butt motif. Stop with the butt motif.
Stop trying to make butts happen.
I love a good butt, but I don't need to see it in Glee. And especially in a setting in which it's just not appropriate
especially when
or
you're
relevant.
looking up their skirts.
Yeah. These are supposed to be children.
Yeah. This is bad.
So
all around.
The cheerleaders put a bunch of gas or lighter fluid on the piano.
They are in the middle of all these fucking people, and they are very clearly dousing this piano with something. They are committing a felony.
I totally
this is a felony.
Missed that entire part of the song.
It is a pretty brief segment. Yes, it is a pretty brief segment where you just see them dancing around.
A felony is what we're calling it now. No.
This is a public school is government property, and they're literally lighting something on fire. They're committing arson. This is a felony.
And then Quinn just happens to flick her cigarette on it, and it lights on fire.
Yeah, what was the plan? Did Santana have matches? Like, what was the plan?
Look, I got that.
Yes.
Obviously, after the piano was on fire, it's like, okay, so the cheerleaders did something. I totally
Yeah.
missed the fact that they were dousing
They
it in
dropped a
gasoline.
pipe bomb on it.
I missed that entirely. But then I was like, okay, so even if they did have a plan, if they
Molotov
doused
cocktail.
it in like gasoline, like what were they planning on? One of the skanks accidentally lighting it on fire? Like
That's a very tenuous plan.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's on some sticks.
Maybe
Very
that was a
skinny
happy
sticks.
accident, and they didn't need to bring out the matches.
See,
Maybe
Cullen,
maybe
it wasn't
Santana
a
was
felony.
like about to flick it, and then
did say it was
it lit
felony.
on fire, and then she was like, "I don't need these."
Wait,
It's
who
like,
said it was a
why-
felony? Was that
Huh?
you? Okay, which person said it was a felony?
It was
Hannah?
Me. Yeah.
I'm getting it mixed up now.
Me and Hannah are so similar, you can't tell us apart.
Yeah. I mean, we're exactly the same. We
Who's
finish
who?
each other's.
Sandwiches.
Sandwiches.
Yep.
There you go.
You're right.
Sorry, I had Tim looking.
So now we're at the final scene. So Will introduces Blaine to the group. He's like, Blaine Anderson is joining us.
Which they
And-
didn't know after he sang a song.
And after he's like been at their school for like the day,
Just walking around, hanging out with Kurt.
without his Warblers uniform.
Yeah. Like,
That is a thing.
And Finn is all like, I just want him to know that we're not the Warblers. You don't have all the ball hogging. And he's like, ball hogging. And he's like, you started a bonfire in our front yard or whatever. And I'm like, that wasn't Blaine's fault, Finn.
yeah, Blaine had nothing to do with that unless he secretly did, and we're gonna find out about it. But I don't think he did.
Well, like, here's my question. There are so many other circumstances that like constitute as ball hogging when it comes to Blaine and having a solo.
Yeah.
Why he brought up a flaming
True.
is beyond me.
Blaine stole the show so much that he lit a piano on fire. That's how much attention he wanted. That's what Finn is thinking.
I mean, do we have a? I personally do not have a problem with that.
I think Finn, as the leading man of the group, is threatened by Blaine's talent and how Blaine has had the privilege of basically being the lead singer of basically it being, Blaine and the Warblers.
Which is a theme because Finn was threatened by Sam in season 2.
True.
Finn is just threatened.
It's a valid concern. It's a very valid concern, but at the same time,
it's gonna help them win.
I also don't have a problem with more Blaine solos. Like I don't.
There you go. We have ruled on the subject. More Blaine.
And if this was the Warblers, he would have
every
the
solo
because they vote on it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
The scene. I'm just now realizing he was a sophomore last year, so all those seniors were letting a sophomore just run the show.
But the Warblers were a democracy.
They were. Well, kind of. It is. It's like a direct correlation to the democracy that's in the United States because they also had a electoral college.
Oh my gosh.
The writers were playing 5D chess.
Glee was playing 5D chess is the quote of the episode.
Glee is a political commentary.
We could have gotten into it way more, but like some of the things that was said about like the polling and stuff, like anyone white, I'm like, oh, ow, that hurts too much 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh.
Britney's time machine worked.
This episode is a direct correlation to our political atmosphere.
Glee. This episode of Glee caused the pandemic.
Glee in 2020 America. Okay, who's not to say that Mr. Shoes Glitter was not a metaphor as well? Like, where
social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
None of them were social distancing.
Mm-mm.
Did you see them wake up in that bed? Emma was trying, but Mr. Shoe was not respecting her wish to socially distance.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah. So then Will kicks Santana out of the Glee Club for lighting the piano on fire. And she's like, Sue made me. And he's like, Brittany didn't do it. And Brittany's like, I was, but like, I'm a water sign. So.
Which is a great line. It was so good.
And then,
I follow her for that.
yeah. And so he kicks Santana out and she's like, fine, I could use a break. And then Rachel's like, considering we tried to go controversial last year with the Rocky Horror Picture Show, I say we secure the rights to a less controversial musical. And she's like, West Side Story, which just shows you how much has changed in the time since Glee aired, because back then West Side Story wasn't really considered a controversial musical. Well, now people would be like, why are you going to whitewash this story?
I was just going to say that.
When she said that, I was like, is that the joke?
I think they were serious.
Yeah, no, I think they were serious. Because that's the thing is, like, a lot of people did, and probably still do, well, they used to, when not social distancing was a thing, but would do West Side Story and would probably do it with white people. But now people do
In the Heights with white people.
People do everything with white people.
I mean, if white people want to do theater, God damn it, they're going to do it.
But
white version of the Wiz.
Oklahoma. That's a good white person show, right?
Oklahoma, Sound of Music. There's plenty that you can pick from.
Can you
white
imagine?
People, you have your own theater.
Can you imagine Glee in 2020? Let's do Hamilton.
Also, West Side Story wasn't Natalie Wood. She was white. She wasn't Latina, right? So,
There's a history of whitewashing. Yeah,
so it's very. So I'm going to assume that they were being serious, but maybe it was a nod. I don't know. That's too complex.
It's like, is Glee trying to make a joke, or are they trying to be normal? I can never tell.
I wonder if this is particularly because it's out of place. Like, we're not in the same time.
Yeah.
It's like so strange to think about sometimes, of things that were, and maybe these things were like always problematic, but some of them were like less problematic. It's weird to think that we might not have noticed these like the first time around.
Yeah.
But now you're like, I think it's good. I do think it's good though that we are being more cognizant and trying to do less and trying to actually like honor the spirit in which it was created.
Yeah. I think it's got to be genuine, because Rachel really focuses on, like, she feels a kinship to Maria.
And she later talks about how Natalie Wood was Jewish and connects that to her Jewishness.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But Mercedes is like, I hope there'll be open auditions for, because Mercedes is feeling very pretty this year.
Yes, you are, girl. I am so sorry you will probably not be cast, because that's not what the show does.
Yeah.
Accurate.
And then Kurt announces that he's going to run for student class president.
Question.
Yeah.
Class president. That's something you run for the year before the year it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm not the only one who thought that. I feel like these writers either have never been to high school, or it's been so long since they've been in high school that they just don't remember how any of it works.
Maybe he's running for next year, because he's a senior.
He's a senior.
I was like,
he's running against the current. He's trying to overthrow the incumbent right now. Like they voted last year, but he's trying to overthrow the incumbent. That's what's going to happen.
President of the fifth-year seniors.
They're going to try to impeach him.
And we'll all sing songs from the era where Bill Clinton was being impeached.
Perfect.
That's the theme of the episode.
Or we can do songs from the era when Trump was being impeached.
Yeah.
How many months ago was that?
I laugh so I don't cry.
Yeah, right. We have this podcast so we don't cry about the real world. We cry about Glee.
That's our other motto of the podcast. We don't cry about the real world. We cry about Glee. And then Rachel's like, Mr. Shu, I think we're on the same page. We should sing You Can't Stop the Beat.
She says, as always, you and I are on the same page. It's like, Rachel, you frequently argue with this man. You're never on the same page.
So they sing You Can't Stop the Beat from Hairspray. Quinn watches longingly.
It starts very slow, and I was like, oh, I don't like this. And then it ramped up, and I was like, okay, I like this.
That was the song you didn't hate.
Yeah, I didn't hate it.
And the episode ends, so that means it is Tina time. Tina had 5 lines.
I didn't count, so
That's it?
Yeah.
I feel like
She spoke a lot,
she was in the episode more, though.
but she only had 5 lines.
She had to play chopsticks. Who else would play it?
True.
And now is time for MVPs and LVPs, where we go through our most favorite and least favorite character.
It's been so long since we've done one of these episode formats.
So, Victoria, who is your least favorite character this episode?
Mr. Shu. Hundo P. No contest. He made me very uncomfortable many times. And he's just a whiny baby. And Glitter. Yeah, so he was my least favorite.
Yeah. So, Hannah, who is your least favorite?
I always say him, but I'm going to say Shu because of how much he referenced his penis in this episode.
Yeah, that's good.
I can't forgive it.
Alyssa?
definitely Shu. I mean, it's not just because it's the first episode of the season. You know, like starting out strong.
This episode didn't feel like a premiere to me.
No, it
It felt mid-season.
It was super boring.
It was.
But the glitter was just the worst. I hated that scene. I hated the whole thing.
My least favorite, I'm going with Kurt, because he wanted Blaine to transfer schools for him and then was like, you're not doing this because of me. And I'm like, you literally asked him. So I'm going with Kurt.
Valid.
Victoria, your MVP?
MVP is Blaine. Even in the episodes Blaine is not in, he is still my favorite. But I do appreciate a well-dressed man who can sing and dance on the stairs. And even though his decision may not have been that well thought out, he still had good intentions and was doing it for someone he cares about. And I appreciate the grand gesture.
He's all about those grand romantic gestures. So I guess it is super on brand that he did do that. It makes sense.
Yeah, maybe not the wisest decision, but like he gave up his blazer that he looked really good in. He gave up Blaine and the Warblers for Kurt.
Yeah.
And then Kurt didn't appreciate him how he should have been appreciated. Lovely.
I am gonna go with Brittany because she had some pretty great one-liners. She mentioned the thing about the time machine randomly. And then also when they were talking to Quinn, her and Santana, she was like, you look like a Jolly Rancher that fell in an ashtray. That was terrific. And then also she's like dancing in the spaghetti when they have a food fight. I don't know if we talked about that, but they had a fucking food fight.
We mentioned it.
She was dancing in the raining spaghetti, and that was fun. So I'm giving it to Brittany.
I'm gonna go with Quinn because I really adore her new look. And she's not in the episode that often, but when she is in the episode, she's pretty badass, or at least trying to be badass. And like she unintentionally sets a piano on fire,
which is
pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm there for it.
And then mine is probably Becky because of the toast line.
that also like being like, I can't work with her because it's about Santana.
It's been baked.
Bread's already been baked. I think about that whenever I make toast.
I will now too. Yeah.
So now it's time for our favorite and least favorite songs. So we had Ding Dong the Witch is Dead, Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better / Anything Goes. We had It's Not Unusual. We had We Got the Beat. We had Chopsticks. You Can't Stop the Beat. And am I missing any?
You said You Can't Stop the Beat twice.
No, because they have We Got the Beat and You Can't Stop the Beat.
Well, that's confusing.
There's 2 beat songs.
It's the theme, the loose theme of the episode.
The theme is beats and butts.
Beats
and butts. Sounds like a restaurant.
So, least favorite song is a tie between Ding Dong, The Witch is Dead, because I know that song. I did not recognize that song. And again, it made me very uncomfortable. A tie with Chopsticks, because that is just very problematic and should not have happened.
I don't know if I really liked the anything goes, anything you can do, I can do better. But I'm going to really go with Ding Dong, The Witch is Dead. I didn't care for it. I did not recognize it. I literally was like, what is this? So yeah, was not engaged by it.
Allyssa?
I just want everyone to know that I didn't like any of the songs in this episode. But
Yeah,
Ding Dong, The Witch is Dead was the worst, in my opinion. I did not like it at all.
Mm-hmm.
It was like Hannah said, nearly unrecognizable, and like there was no energy, and like I was trying to understand what was the message of the song that they were singing at this time, and why did it relate to their situation? There was nothing.
Yes.
It did nothing for me.
Like, the energy made no sense. Like, it was like...
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ding Dong, The Witch is Dead too, for solely this one point where Rachel's like, getting crowned by a house is twice as bad as drowning or something. And it's...
Oh, yeah, her affectations were very annoying in that song.
So, yeah, not a fan. Victoria, what was your favorite song?
It will come as no surprise that my favorite song was It's Not Unusual, because Blaine and his big romantic gestures, his flawless dance moves, his smooth voice, and I just, again, appreciated the intent of the song. And compared to a rather lackluster soundtrack for the rest of the episode, it stood out as being not as bad as the rest.
Yeah, mine's a complicated answer. Did not like the first half of You Can't Stop the Beat. And then like it got into like the actual where it had a beat part. And that was fun, I guess. It was probably the most engaging because I like that song because I like Hairspray.
Allyssa?
I liked Anything Goes mash up with Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better. It was the only song that had the energy I was looking for in the pilot of the season. And they were uber crazy about it. Like, they were totally insane, and I loved it. They were doing backflips and, you know, like handsprings and, you know, like all of these crazy athletic things that I was just really into. And I actually liked the way they mashed up the songs. Like,
I think so. I don't even know if we really mentioned it, and they didn't really bring it up in the show, but these children who are not in the same Glee club are doing mashups, which seems to be a thing that like really like New Directions kind of made a thing. At least it kind of feels like mashups kind of were a specifically like Glee thing. Like, I know they existed, but like the idea of the mashup really kind of boomed with Glee, and the fact that these students did a mashup inside the show where like that's the thing. It felt like a very weird oversight that they weren't like, yeah, we mashed these up. And they're like, hey, we do those too. Like, it felt very weird that they didn't make that connection.
there's like, and it's almost like this weird sort of meta thing where like the Glee club made mashup a thing, and now that it's a thing, Glee the show is making it their thing. So like they're expanding it into the universe of the show.
And the other characters don't know that they're doing something.
Yeah, exactly.
My favorite song was also Blaine's song because he was very dreamy during it.
Our collective boyfriend.
Our collective boyfriend.
And Cullen's Glee personality.
Yeah.
Cullen, you're dating yourself.
I'm dating myself.
Oh boy.
I love myself.
Wow.
I think I'm grand when I go out. I hold my hand. The song.
So Cullen does grand gestures for himself to win over himself.
Whenever I buy a donut, I'm like, thanks, me. This is my grand gesture to me.
And in high school, Cullen switched from the living room to the kitchen for himself.
Yeah.
Homeschool.
I
That's
did.
a good
If you
show.
want to hear about transferring, I used to do school in the basement, but in high school, once all my siblings were in college, I switched to doing it in the living room.
You did transfer, didn't you?
So that brings us to the end of this episode. Victoria, is there anything you'd like to plug?
You should keep listening to this awesome podcast and watch for when Gleeboot really happens and when we make our Twilight podcast.
Yes.
It might be in the works. It might be in the works now.
But I do have a TikTok for my cat. She has 28,000 followers. She doesn't post on it very often because she's a working gal. But you will not see me, but my cat Enya on @KittyLiterature on TikTok and Instagram. So kitty spelled normally and literature with 2 T's like kitty litter.
Nice. Okay, it's been a long time. We are at Gleeboot Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and we are at Gleeboot pod.tumblr.com. I'm getting the cue from Cullen.
We used to say Gleeboot, but I'm pretty sure it's the same for all three.
No, there's a
I think you're
different one,
right.
isn't there? Oh,
Oh,
it's the
God.
same.
I don't know. Hold on. I'll just look it up.
Well, you're looking that
Gleeboot-
up.
Nope, you're right. You're right. Gleebootpod.tumblr.com.
Instead of plugging my personal social medias, I'm going to plug a new podcast that Alyssa and I are on
Yep.
called Wanderer's Cove. It is a teen RPG mystery podcast. You'll recognize a lot of that performers. They've been guests on Gleeboot. So check us out wherever you get your podcast, Wanderer's Cove. Follow us on Instagram at Wanderer's Cove Podcast, and follow us. Our website will be in the description, so check that out.
Yay.
Hey, Alyssa.
And you can follow my Instagram at a.m.swearingen. SWEARINGEN.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on our podcast. We hope you had
Yes.
fun. We certainly had fun having you.
Yes. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, listeners.
Bye.